This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, and today I'm going to try to explain what I mean by ecological holistic civilization, that I believe is the solution for our survival and the survival of civilization itself, while not destroying all life on earth. I mean, bit by bit we will destroy everything, or at least that might be only a few places where reserves, probably private, where the demos are not allowed to go, because most people will be living in so-called smart cities, you know. I mean, I would call it prison cities, because that's what it's going to be, to look like. That you are born there and never get out of there, because either we do not have the money, or the means, or you are not allowed, because everything will be controlled, everything will be in a grid, an electronic digital grid. So whatever you want to do, you can be denied, access denied, so there might be still a few places they will preserve, the elites will preserve for themselves. There will be controlled probably privately, or be private, public-private partnerships with the public. The state takes the burden of making it safe and pay the bills, and the private sector will control it, will exploit it, and will enjoy it. So an ecological and holistic, or an ecological holistic civilization is the opposite of an imperialistic civilization that we have today. A global imperialist civilization. That's our default, that's default mode, that's the default paradigm for all nations. Whether the ones that are in defense mode, whether the ones that are in expansionist mode, nevertheless, the mentality, the ideological frame, the cultural frame, the political frame, which means the mind frame, is imperialistic. It doesn't matter if you are an imperialistic nation or not. You might be in the receiving end of it. You might be suffering out of the imperialist enterprises of the powers of the powerful nations. But nevertheless, we all still, but the majority of us still operating cognitively, psychocognitively, and ideologically in an imperialistic frame of mind. That's how we understand the world. Expansion. That's why capitalism is not the solution, because capitalism cannot survive without expansion. Growth Because capitalism depends on that, is based on that. Somebody, somewhere, needs to go into that in order to make the economy grow, in order to create new wealth. New wealth is created out of that. And the speculative capitalist, financial capitalism, rentier capitalism, just makes it worse. So there is not, it is impossible to have an ecological civilization that is not holistic. Because we can try to change the modes of production, but to more sustainable so through the green transition. But what we cannot do is to change the modus operandi of capitalism, which is anti-ecological. If you are anti-imperialist, if you are for an ecological civilization, you cannot be capitalist, because capitalism is irreformable. Because capitalism, it would require, in order capitalism to be kept in a sustainable way, you need an enormous amount of regulations, and you need to make them work, and be constantly fighting against the subversive nature of capitalism, in the pursuit for private property, in the pursuit of profits, the maximization of profits, and the accumulation of wealth. So it's not impossible, it would not be totally impossible to keep a capitalist system under a regulatory frame. It's not impossible, of course, but it requires, it is much easier to change the political economy than to try to keep the capitalism with a leash, lacking a better word for the moment. So, so in my opinion, and I have give quite a thought about that. It's not. We cannot have an ecological civilization if it's not holistic. And capitalism can never be holistic. Capitalism is about commodifying, is about transforming everything into a commodity. So it's the antithesis of holistic relationship, the understanding that everything is interconnected, and everything is interdependent, and we cannot take nature or everything as externalities. You know, capitalism has been thriving, flourishing on the assumption and on the principle of externalities of what doesn't matter is considered an externality, which means that it doesn't count. That's the opposite of an holistic relationship, that we understand that whatever we do has impact, good or bad. So we do not think about other humans. We cannot have an economic system that treats and frames other human beings and nature in general, animals and plants and trees and rivers and the sea and all the rest, as resources, as things, materials to be extracted, to be exploited, to be transformed into capital, to produce profits, to be accumulated by the few. Because the nature of capitalism is about concentrating the wealth and power on the top. It's not about building a fair society. It's the opposite. And this is why the people that believe they can, the ones that believe in ecological civilization, but want to preserve the capitalist political economy, they are delusional. It's not. It is almost impossible. It is much easier to think about an economy that I'm going to use the word eco-socialist economy. What I mean by that is a social and ecological political economy, which means that the policies are the economic policies, the macroeconomic policies, the fiscal policies, the monetary policies, and the international frame, financial and banking frame, is developed, is implemented on rules that are social and ecological, which means that the social, the well-being of society, the well-being of the people, the demos, and the well-being of nature is at the top, not the pursuit of profits. It doesn't mean that people will not be rewarded for their work, for their initiative, by being entrepreneurs, by producing goods and services that are important, that are essential for society. That can be society, and the economy can be organized around totally different principles. And that's why I also don't want to be to work only in a frame, a Marxist frame or communist or socialist frame. I use the word eco-socialism just as a label, because the way this and the way I believe that the kind of society we need, the kind of civilization, global civilization. I'm talking about global civilization. I'm talking about a framework that is based on cooperation, is based on principles of resilience, in the precautionary principle, that we walk our technological, technology advances in a fast pace, and we all want new devices. If we don't want to go back to the computers and to phones and other devices that we had 20 years ago. Because the ones that we enjoy now give us are more pleasurable. They make our lives in certain ways easier, and they perform better. So we want them, but it doesn't mean that we should have we should not be working in there. Let me frame it another way. There are technologies that it might make sense. Okay, there are technologies that might make sense to innovate, but not every single technology requires to be all the time changing, and we should understand that we need to have limits, because limits are part of the holistic understanding of life. There are limits, and those limits, that's what is not the capitalist system, and the capitalist class doesn't want to recognize limits. It's always about accumulating more, concentrating more power, to have more control, and if possible control the whole world. And this doesn't change just because this operating system doesn't change just because we are transitioning from the fossil. We are not transitioning. Actually, this is a fantasy, because we are using the same amount or even more amount of fossil fuels than before, because it's for as long as the economies grow, they will consume more energy, and a huge part of that energy needs to be fossil fuels, because they are essential not only for transportation, but also for many other, because oil is used and gas is used for so many things. You know that you need natural gas to produce nitrogen. That is the basic fertilizer for agriculture all around the world. You don't have it enough in the soil. You know, the basic NPK, you know, that means nitrate or nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Okay, this is the three major elements. Then you have calcium and magnesium. You know, you have all the micro elements. You know, all the sulfur, which is very important as well. But these three basic elements are essential. Nitrogen is essential for plant growth. Plants are green, not only because of the leaves are green, not only because of the chlorophyll function, but also because of nitrogen. If there is no nitrogen, plants do not grow. Leaves become yellow. So, and all, you know, if we can only get it from organic matter, like manure and whatever organic matter, that substrates, that you can use to fertilize the land. Other than that, you need to for extensive agriculture, like corn, soya beans, wheat, everything that you grow in large scale. You need a lot of nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium. So the phosphorus can come from several sources, including mines. There are phosphate coming from mines, like in I don't remember right now. Is a country in Africa. They have, maybe the biggest mines where they extract the phosphates. I don't remember the name right now. You can find potassium and magnesium in mines in Germany and elsewhere. So, but nitrogen, no. Nitrogen, you have to get it. You have to produce it. It was discovered. That's why the revolution, the so-called, I think it's the agriculture revolution, the industrial agriculture revolution, was based on the use of synthetic nitrate. That they need a lot of natural gas to produce it. So, and that is all the rest. That's literally, oil is almost in everything in that we use in our economy and society. So it is just when we say that we are transitioning to a green economy, and we just associate it with using less and less fossil fuels. First, it's not true. It's true in some societies. It's not true everywhere. And you still need enormous amounts of fossil fuels for everything. We need to make our societies and economies function. So it's an illusion. It's an illusion. It's not because everything is wrong about the green transition. No, I do not believe it. It is, but it is driven to save the system we have, to save the capitalist system, to save the. It is driven by continuing the accumulation of wealth, seeking for other sources of profit, and this is not. I mean, it's just to save a lifestyle, but a lifestyle for whom? Because capitalism is based on manufactured scarcity, which means that the system needs to keep the majority of people in a situation of scarcity, which means they need to have to be all the time in need for money to buy the things they need to survive. So the more commodified is a society, more money we need. So everything depends on money that everything you need, or everything you need and want, you need to have money to buy it, which means that you always need to look for money, to have money from somewhere. So that manufacture scarcity based on the commodification of everything makes us dependent on the market, on having a job, or it doesn't matter. You just need to have the money. So this is manufactured scarcity to make us dependent on a system, on the capitalist system, that in many cases will make us even more dependent, because we need to go into debt in order to buy most, or to enjoy. Most of us, or many of us, or more and more of us, need almost to borrow money to go into debt for most things. We need to survive. Okay? Not only to survive, because since we live in a consumer society, which is you are all the time pressured again, because there are new devices and new goods and services. We are all the time pressured to buy new things. So we need to go into debt. This is a scheme. This is not about. This is not about. This is not about. Look at this tree. This is always about making money and making us more dependent on the market economy, which means that if we need the money, and the money is scarce. The money is not scarce, and this is the paradox and the contradiction, because the money is not scarce. The problem with the money is that the money is again controlled by institutions that unfortunately are again controlled by private interests. And this I really would like people to try to understand how the financial markets work, the derivatives market, the hedge funds, how they make it complicated and complex in order to get away with all sorts of scams, because these are scams. They are not producing anything. They are not helping anyone. They are just enriching themselves because they have the system hijacked. They control it. The central banks are supposed to be independent. Okay, that's what we are supposed to believe. They are independent, but they are not independent. They exist to save. We have the Bank of International Settlements, BISH, located in Basel. The headquarters are in Basel, Switzerland. This bank is supposed to be the bank for the central banks. So that's where the marching orders, they dictate the policies. The central banks are not independent. These people, their connections, they are connected. It's with the big banks, with big financial institutions. They go from being in the treasury to becoming the head of these, to go to to become to go to the IMF or the World Bank, and then they go back to the Fed, and they go back to a private bank, and that's because we believe they are the experts. They know how to run these complex systems that they are so. It's not for us to understand. But the thing is, they are just in bed together, which means that their role is not to save the economy, or when they talk about the economy, they talk about this group of. They are not even talking about. They include some companies, but most saving the economy is about saving financial institutions, corrupt banks, and elite that wants to control everything. And they are, because I wanted to say this because these operations, these financial operations, and this financial engineering is most of the time is hugely leveraged, which these people, these hedge funds, private equity firms, venture capitalists, and all these people, they are hugely leveraged, which means that that is at the core of how this system functions. That's why when things go wrong, they do not have liquidity. Because they do not have liquidity. What they have is debt. They do. That's why this capitalist system is irreformable. We cannot have. And by the way, I can understand that physics, mathematics, biology, the art sciences in general, they are complex. They require people that understand, they have a deep understanding of the laws of physics, and all the information about chemistry and everything else. I do understand that. But when it comes to the social science, and by the way, economics is a social science, politics, a banking system is not required, and the financial system can be pretty simple, and it can work for the well-being of society and to serve the economy, serve the real economy. It doesn't need these complex financial instruments. They are not needed for the economy. That's what I want to say. This is not about, they are complex not to serve the economy. They are complex because they are rigged. And they are rigged against society and against the real economy. Because even most of the big, they are not that's why the companies, that's why we have been witnessing for the last several decades that what the banking system, the financial corporations and the banking sector or the fire sector, it's where the wealth is accumulated. It's the same thing with the tech bros. The tech companies is not about, it's also financial. I mean, this is not real wealth. That's what I would like people to understand. This is only financial wealth that is part of a big scheme. This is not about real value. It's like, for example, Tesla. If you compare Tesla to Toyota, Toyota should be much more valuable than Tesla. And these companies, they just grow exponentially in the market. The value of the stock just goes up and up and up. And certain companies, they can really grow pretty fast and making a lot of people. If a company, if the stock of a company grows 40 times or 100 times, your investment it's a good investment because your wealth just doubles as well if you have invested in those stock. But it doesn't mean that the company really, in the real economy, that company is not worth that. It's just speculation. And then you become a wealthy person, not helping anything in the real economy, but just through speculation. And this is unfair to start with, and it should not exist, because it doesn't really it tells anything about real wealth, about the real economy and the real society, which is why we have such an unequal society, because this wealth has been made not out of producing anything or not out of helping society and the real economy to produce and to create good paying jobs. It's nothing of that sort. It has been the opposite. It has been by destroying good jobs and creating I don't find the word right now. Making lives of people more difficult with precarity. It's called the precariat class. Have been growing the precariat class and the useless class. And this is related to the growth of this financial capitalism, especially the fire sector, financial, insurance and real estate, but also the tech companies, the Silicon Valley tech companies. So it's not. This is why we cannot. I mean, we can call it an ecological civilization, because we can say, okay, we are transitioning, we are doing a lot of good, the industries are much cleaner now, we are producing the energy with green technologies, we are using less oil, and we are doing this and doing that. But what does that really mean? Are we really doing? What is the impact of our economies in the real world, in the natural world? It might look nice, you know. Might build very huge cities like we can see it's happening in China and elsewhere. You know, looks very clean, very efficient transportation, but nevertheless it's always growing, and it's always growing the consumption of energy. It doesn't matter where it comes from. I mean, of course it matters. But even the renewables are not, the renewable energy is always a myth, because we have to change the geography. We have to change, we have to we have to intervene in the environment in order to create the conditions to build those huge photovoltaic farms, or whatever you want to call it, projects, or wind farms, you know, the windmills, in order to, and all the rest. And even if we will be able to use nuclear fusion, I mean, I don't know if it might be possible. You don't know, but it's until it becomes, until it becomes commercially viable and to produce energy in quantities that make the difference. It's a huge leap of faith, and it's not only about that. I mean, everything that we need, that we use, it has to be, wherever it comes, it needs resources. And resources always have to come from somewhere. So, and if it's always based, there is the problem with the capitalist system and the profit motive, you know, and the accumulation of wealth, the legitimacy that you believe it's morally right, it's your moral right to be driven by ambition and greed to make profit, if you have this, if our conduct, if our cultural identity is based on these moral principles of that legitimacy, we always will put it above anything else. That's why this is moral bankruptcy. This is moral. This is not. This is delusional, and that will not make society. That does not make us. That will still dehumanizing us. It doesn't matter how educated we are, or sophisticated, how well mannered, how clean our cities, how high are our buildings, how sophisticated is the way we grow food, how this and how that. We will always need to exploit, to use others, because the society where we live is based on objectification. We need to objectify people and nature, to objectifying them through commodification. Because our relations is not with the feeling of connection through interdependence. That because we are interdependent, now is out of control, is for control, and even worse than control, is for using, exploiting, extracting, and discard, and not even, because it's lacking the basic respect of dignity of a relation, of a understanding that it should be about a relationship, that we feel that we are interrelated and interdependent, that we should not see ourselves as owning anything. Because when we feel entitled of owning and controlling, we are allowing ourselves to commit, to become to become evil, and this cannot be. We need to go deeper into the understanding of the capitalist system and how it frames how we perceive ourselves and the world, and how we are really transformed into how we are dehumanized by it. And again, and this cannot be, what I'm trying to convey is that an ecological civilization, it might look like a beautiful thing, because it's, as I said, they can try to see how advanced, how interconnected we are in terms of communications and transportation and everything else, how efficient the smart societies will be, how everything will be clean and green and you know, and all and but then we do not see that we are still operating in a system that is not that is unfair, and it is still it's based on a lie, and that lie is basically that we can grow and expand. And it's the thing that I'm trying to. My point is, we can call it an ecological civilization because it's green, because it's efficient, because it's interconnected, and so on and so forth. And everything can be achieved through technofixing. So we can technofix every problem. So we just have to be believers, to believe, to have blind faith in technoscientism. But we're still operating in the same frame of mind and having the same economy, the same political economy that is behind the capitalist, the imperialist civilization paradigm that we could say that exists at least for 5 centuries, 500 years. And that's my point. My takeaway is that doesn't matter that it looks really nice, that it really that it can show us. Doesn't mean, I mean, can be China or can be the West or can be, doesn't matter. China might look more advanced in all this because China can move things faster, can change, can build dams and railways and cities, and transform everything in a fast pace and make it look nice and sustainable and green. But it's still the same. It doesn't matter. They have a communist party there. They might have better. They have better social policies. They can do a lot of good in the role of distributing the wealth. Okay, that is true. But it doesn't. But it's still operating. The same operating system is the capitalist imperialist frame of work. Expansion, looking for new markets, creating new products. This growth mentality. This is an imperialistic mentality because it requires to expand, it requires to conquer. It can be soft imperialism, okay? Nevertheless, it needs to end. It is not. That's nothing to do with our condition. We do not need to be like that. We do not need to depend on continuous growth, on unlimited growth. Neither we should accept, normalize and naturalize the endless accumulation, the unlimited accumulation of wealth and the maximization of profits. That is not necessary. That is only this is only acceptable under the rule of a class-based society, where the few on the top accumulate wealth and concentrate power and control the rest of us and dictate what kind of governance, what kind of system, what kind of economy do we have. And that is unacceptable. And if we do not change, if we do not think about have an idea of an ecological civilization that is holistic and with a social and ecological political economy, that we should discuss how it should function and work, when we should transition to this, not about green transition, but about a transition to a true ecological, holistic civilization. Because that's what we really need. Not for a country, not for a region, but for the whole world. So I will go in later. I will end it. I'm going to end this conversation now. But I will continue to talk about why do we need and how it should look like an ecological holistic civilization. Thank you for listening.